I'm going to be straight with you. Today's Shop Talk Sunday is a pitch, but the material is so good you won't care. I'm going to show you exactly how to go from an eBay reseller to an Amazon FBA seller with Evergreen products, keeping the risk low and the upside high. I'll address every single concern that you have along the way, and by the end, you'll see why this pitch is worth hearing, why I'm so critical and skeptical of other creators, and exactly what I do that could put you in a stronger position to open up more income streams. Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mason T, and I am a 20+ year importer and product developer. So, because I want this video to be completely transparent, okay, we're going to do it with no fancy editing. Everything is just going to be one continuous shot, and I'm just going to fire off the top of my head, okay? So let's just jump directly into it, right? Let's go into the screen cap today, and what the material is that I have for you guys is going to be a case study. Now, because where I am in e-commerce, right, I felt as if like the time when, you know, I did that video about Ethan Lupo, and he said, I think he does e-commerce, and I think so, you know what, it made me feel really bad, because it's like people who watch my videos don't really know what I'm about and what my videos are about and what is it that I do. So today we're going to clarify that by doing a case study. Okay, now where I am on the spectrum of e-commerce, okay, the beginners is where reselling is, because how hard is it to start with a couple of things from your home and then go out and to thrift shops and then get more stuff, right? That's definitely where the beginner space is. So where I am is the area where we don't do BOLO lists. We don't share that information. I don't tell you what my company is. I'm not going to tell you what my items are, because that's how we protect ourselves. We're not trying to create more competitors in this area because we're looking for product exclusivity. It defeats what we're doing. So it's not that I don't want to share my success with you guys, but rather I can only share my knowledge with you guys, okay? So in order to do the closest next best thing is to share with you guys case studies of a company that's very, very similar to mine, okay? So what I have over here is a company that I have been eyeballing since 2019, because I was going to get into this item as well. For those of you who follow the channel, you guys already know that I'm in the automotive sector, right? I like to do seat covers and car covers and floor mats and steering wheel covers and all that other good stuff, right? So that doesn't mean that I can't do some simple items outside of my niche. And this was one of them. You know, I'm a little bit of a camping enthusiast, you know what I mean? I like a little bit of bushcraft stuff. I like the idea of, you know, making your own fires and whatnot. So this is a company called Don't Die in the Woods. You guys have probably heard of the video game before. That has nothing to do with the video game, all right? So we're just gonna jump into his website real quick. So I want you to take a look at this guy, right? What is Don't Die in the Woods? It's not even really major camping gear, okay? It's just a couple of supplement items for your average doomsday prepper, okay? Because if you're really into bushcraft, you probably wouldn't even need this kind of stuff. But what it is, you know, Mylar blankets. That's what it really is, okay? Heat shields and stuff. And then they turn it into kind of like a sleeping bag, kind of into a makeshift tent, and then they roll it up into a little carrying case, okay? So the reason why I want to show this to you guys, right, is that clearly many of you guys who know exactly what I am, I introduce myself as a product developer and importer. So that means that I'm a private labeler. And a lot of people understand that, you know, private labeling is in a much more advanced space, and not everybody is ready for that. But this video is not only just a pitch, but it is to empower you, to get you that confidence, to understand that it's really not so out of reach. It's really not, you know, the difficulty that most people try to fearmonger about, right? And that's what I mean by I want to address a lot of the concerns in this particular video, right? So we're going to do this item because I just want you to see how simple this item is, right? Because every now and then I get a pushback comment telling me, Peg, but you could make a good money being a reseller. I mean, I know this guy, he makes darn good money. And to that I say, so what? I'll drop names. And the reason why I drop names is because life is too short not to say exactly what you're thinking, right? That's why I don't do this. Some people have been, and some people, you know what I mean? I just name names, right? I remember the time that I was really critical about flipping ain't easy. Flipping ain't easy. He came back and then he left me a nasty comment. You know, he's just the blow up steam. And he was like, James Halverstein makes, you know, great money and do blah, blah, blah. And to that, I say, so what? So freaking what? I don't care how much money you make, okay? And the reason is because you could still do a private item on the side to supplement your business on top of that. What's wrong with that? Any free time that you have, you could still put in the research, planning, and development of just one item. And that's basically what I'm trying to show you in today's video. This dude only has basically one item, okay? And the item is this Mylar stuff, right? And I want to show you how funny this thing is, okay? Aside from, you know, the Don't Die in the Woods, his name and stuff like that, okay? When you click on Shop Survival Gear here, you can't even buy this off of his website. This is not a call to action, you know, like kind of funnel landing page or whatever. It funnels you over actually to Amazon. He wants you to buy this on Amazon. I'm going to get into why later on. Okay. So when you click on this, it takes you over to what? His Amazon page over here, right? So this is his Amazon page of his items. And as you can see over here, he has like a lot of listings, right? But a lot of these listings are the same listings. Like for example, the first 3 listings is all under one parent listing. And these 3 are the other SKUs, right? Other colors, okay? So the thing is that I've opened them all up over here, okay? And I just wanted to share it with you guys of exactly what the sales look like, right? So if you're into Amazon, definitely download both Keepa and the Jungle Scout. You need these 2 tools in order to basically do a little bit of research on people, all right? So if you are an avid shopper of Amazon, you're buying stuff off of Amazon anyways, right? Definitely get the Jungle Scout app, because the Jungle Scout, the extension for Chrome, okay, is going to show you exactly what their bestseller rating is, as well as what they rank in their hyper niches, and then their month-to-month revenue, as well as the units sold. Now, if they're a fairly new seller, or they're constantly changing their prices and their stuff is fluctuating, or they're going out of stock very often, then this thing is not going to be very stable, because the readings of this stuff is not that much real time. But if they have gone on for 3 or 4 months stable, no problem, then these figures are actually very, very accurate. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So for that, you really want the Keepa stuff over here, right? And Keepa is kind of like, you know, camel. You've probably seen it on like, you know, Lindy Glenn's channel, and she recommends, you know, checking out camel, so that you know people on Prime Day, whether they're marked up to mark down and they're just pulling your chain, et cetera, right? So the Keepa stuff gives you his whole pricing history here, okay? And what I want to show you is that for a long time, his price has been $19.95, and it has held stable over here, right? Every now and then he did do a little sale, you know, whatever, Black Friday or something like that. But for the past 3 months, he has raised his price over to $21.95, and it has held stable. He didn't really have to do any fighting with anybody, you know, he didn't have to drop his price. It's just held stable. So that's very nice to have an item that is evergreen. You could just keep selling it over and over again, and you could hold steady on the price. We're not doing, you know, this funky, like, how much should I sell it for? Is it selling fast? Is it selling slow? What is my STR and stuff like that? You know, see, here's the thing, right? If you want to do reselling, if you want to continue to do reselling, because everybody says, you know, well, reselling is a lot less upfront costs, right? And, you know, it's a lot less risk. I could just go out and get some stuff and then just start doing business already. Okay. Yes. And then with your spare time, develop one item on the side. That's all I ask. Just try to develop one item on the side. Why? Let's go through his sales real quick. Okay. So this is just one of his listings. Ultimately, he has 4 separate listings, right? All the other stuff that he has is just, again, the variation in color. So this is just one separate listing, right? And this one does $8,000 in revenue. Keep in mind, it is revenue. This is not the take-home amount. And he sells 374 units. Here is his other item over here, right? Don't Die in the Woods store. And this is, emergency blanket, right? And then this is his next item. And then this one goes for $5,000 in close to $6,000 in revenue, 265 sold. And then finally over here, this is $14,000 at 520 sold. So when you think of the amount of units sold, right? Is it wildly successful? Is it 40,000 units a month? No, it's not that wildly successful. It's not a home run. But that's my point. You don't need to have home runs. You just need to have base hits that you could reap the success over and over again. Meaning that you don't have to have a whole orchard, but you can have a couple of lemon trees in the back that's consistently bringing lemons to you, right? Maybe we shouldn't use the term lemons, but you get my point. So once this item is on track, what is his daily life, right? What does it look like? It looks a lot like my daily life, okay? Over the past 20 years as an importer and product developer, okay, I probably developed something like, 50, 60 items, right? Some failed, some phased out. The successful ones, I still retain about a good 20 plus amount of items. And most of my business is all on Amazon FBA. And the reason why we have it here is because they handle everything for you, right? They store it in their warehouse, they ship it out for you, they handle the customer service, they handle the delivery stuff for you, right? So essentially, I barely get any direct contact with the customers at all. It's basically, I'm a third party where I get it from my factory, I supply it directly to Amazon, and at best, I navigate a dashboard every single day. So how many hours do I actually work every day? Something like 2.5 or 3 hours every day. I work with this stuff. I have a couple of meetings and I'm pretty much done because I'm not involved with a lot of things, right? So ultimately, when I do an item like this, even if my margins aren't very good, as long as it's still profitable, what did I do every single day? I didn't put in that much labor. I put in a phone call, replenish the item, and then it's ongoing. I just have to make sure that the returns aren't crazy. I got to make sure that the pay-per-click campaign isn't eating me alive. I just got to balance out those things. So I navigate a dashboard. I'm doing a lot more administrative work. I'm not really doing that much labor work, right? So what is my point here? When you're doing reselling, it basically runs off of your back. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into that. At what point are you going to start to advance into full automation of a system? The whole point of selling things online is to leverage full automation. When you think of having a physical store somewhere, well, there's a lot of problems with having a physical store. First, we're going to have store hours. I mean, we got to lock up sometime, right? We're not 7-Eleven. And as well as you have a person capacity, right? There's a fire hazard, no more than 250 people in this area, et cetera, something like that. Okay. And then every single customer that comes in, what are you going to do? You're going to pitch every single one of them. You're going to talk until you're blue in the face, right? So what we have is that we set up listings, we have them sell overnight, and we have bulk amounts so that we can wake up every single day with 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 sales of the same item over and over again. And that's exactly what goes on here. So when you look at, 300 units a month, then that's 10 sales every single day. You look at here, 400 units a month, then that means he's doing more than 10 sales steady every single day. And that's what we want. So even if you want to remain as a reseller and you make darn good money doing it, that's what I'm saying. So what? Do this as well on top of it. Do just one item. So here's what I want to show you more about as we dive into this, okay? Because as an experienced seller, I want you to see this through my eyes. So when we look at this guy, Don't Die in the Woods, I have personally already sorted all 4 of his main listings by chronological order, right? And I want to show you over here so that this one, it says all 2,551 days, which means he started this listing 2,551 days ago. So the next one over here on Keepa will tell us is 2330, and the next one here says 2138, and then finally the next one here says 1614, right? So this is his youngest listing. So as he started over here, sorry, that was the wrong screen. As he started over here, okay, you can see that he held 1995 and then is 2195. Now this thing started roughly around January of 2019. This is exactly what I'm saying. I've been watching this guy since he only had 12 reviews back in 2019. All right. And then look at how many reviews he has now, 3,887. Okay. And then for this next item, this started in July 2019. And the next item was January 2020. And then his next item is July 2021. This guy hasn't done a new item for the past 4 years. Do you know what that's like? When you add up all of his revenue over here, okay, this is about 14,000. This one is about 5,800. This one says 10,800, and this one says 8,200. That's roughly just under 40,000. If his take home is only 25% of that, that's $10,000 every single month for his evergreen items. Except, again, I ask you, what does a day in the life of something like this looks like? He monitors his sales. He adjusts his dashboard, right? He makes sure there's no fires to put out or anything like that. And then periodically, he places his reorder. He just schedules his reorder. He spends time to calculate, hey, is the sales going up or going down this quarter? Should I order a little bit more? Should I order a little bit less? That's pretty much all he has to do, just this administrative work, right? As opposed to going out to thrift shop after thrift shop and sifting through 500 pairs of jeans just to walk away with 15 pairs of jeans and then rinse and repeat every single week, right? That's a lot of labor. That's a lot of driving. That's a lot of back and forth. This is what? This is short-term pain for long-term gain. And reselling is what? It just never ends. Because if your item sells, you got to go replace it. If your item doesn't sell, you got to go out and replace it. You're always going out to replace it. This, you make a phone call and it's done. It goes straight from your factory over to the Amazon warehouse. And that's what I want for you guys. All right. Now, we're going to address a lot of concerns right now. Okay. The first concern is, Peg, you're a product developer. You know, I don't know how to do that stuff and to deal with these factories. Well, first, can we even just look at the product for a second? As a reseller, you are what? Always dealing with branded items. That's why all these Bolo videos constantly come out with what? Top brands. These are the top jean brands. These are the top, like, you know what I mean? You're very heavily brand dependent in order to have the hype, in order to sell the item, whether or not this item is demand. This is something completely different. This is the opposite of that. This is where the brand doesn't matter. This is where, what am I getting for my money, right? And this is, you know, satisfying your doomsday prepper fantasies, right? So for 20 bucks, right? For $27 over here, right? They pack like 3 emergency blankets in this little tote, you know, and they're these Mylar shields and stuff like that, right? But I really want you to look at this product, right? And ask yourself, how complicated was this product? Are any of you out there camping enthusiasts yourself? Could you or could you not have come up with a product idea of this complexity on your own? Probably, yeah. I mean, how complicated is this thing, right? And then when you really analyze what this is, right, between what the tent is of this Mylar blanket stuff versus this sleeping bag using the Mylar blanket, right, and just having, you know, the straight blanket itself to cover you with, what is this? I argue this is like the Taco Bell of the same product over and over again, right? Is this not a burrito and then an enchilada and then a chimichanga? Is that not what it is? It's the same product sewn in different ways and then repackaged again and put into the same tote over and over again, except this one comes with a carabiner. How crazy is this, right? And what is he doing here? He has a solid income of $10,000 every single month. I want you to really take in the idea of what ownership is, okay? When you think about what rich people are, okay, what do they tell you? Well, rich people, they sink in a lot of money into assets. So they use their money to make money, right? They buy things that make them money. So they put it into real estate, they put it into stocks and bonds, they put it into other types of investments, they buy assets, right? Well, I don't come from a rich daddy, and I don't think you do either. So you need money to buy an asset. So they're buying assets. So we're not buying assets because where are we getting the money from? So what should you do? You need to create an asset, right? And what is our method of creating an asset, creating an evergreen product such as this. And this is why I urge people, okay, that with whatever free time that you have, put it into the research to understand the marketplace so that you could come up with an item similar to something like this. And it would be a commodity type item. What does that mean? The word commodity itself is basically like gold, wood, oil, basic raw materials, right? Where if they were to say, hey, we need lumber, well, does it really matter what brand the lumber is? And like, what are you talking about? Lumber is lumber. Yeah, right, exactly. So a commodity type item would be the same thing. If you're looking for just a sleeping bag, are you really looking more for the function, the features, and the value that you get, rather than it's got to be a Coleman, it's got to be, this brand or that brand, right? Exactly, right? So when you're talking about like all sorts of small electronics, humidifiers, the camping equipment, sporting equipment, it doesn't necessarily need to be any specific brand, especially if they are items where there's not really an established household name for it anyways, because when you're first starting off, who are you? You're nobody. Exactly. Neither am I, neither are you. We're not LG, we're not Sony, we're not Nintendo. Those guys spent big money from the get-go, and they've been around for years and years and years. So in order for us to get our foot into the door and create an asset, it would have to be the easiest to go through the path of a commodity item. And this is what a commodity item is. When you think about what my business is, it's the exact same thing. When I talk about my automotive products, whether it is a seat cover, a floor mat, a car cover, tell me how many brands of car covers or seat covers can you name off the top of your head? Do you know any household name auto accessories? You really can't name that many outside of like maybe Armor All, and Armor All only focuses on polish and cleaners, right? So exactly. Once you start developing and thinking more about items that are everyday items where people is more about the value, right? So you start digging into your interests, into your niches, you could start coming up with items like this. And this is where I want to ease your mind, right? Where the product does not have to be as complicated as you think. You don't have to come up with software. Nobody's telling you to come up with the next best thing in DSLR cameras. Look at what this item is. It's so simplistic. That's what it is. It's basically a Mylar blanket with a paracord, right? And then an area where they sewed it at the top so that you could fish the paracord through, and then boom, there you go. Now I stick two people in there, and that is my lifestyle photo. What is happening here? He's selling 374 units every single month. Now, of course, 374 units, $8,200, it's not life-changing money. But when you stack all four of these things together, you kind of sort of don't really need to do reselling. This is pretty good. And what are you going to do next? Do you really want to go out and source more jeans? Absolutely, do your thing. Or like this guy, do you want to work on Don't Die in the Woods item number 5? I would argue probably do Don't Die in the Woods number 5, or just register another brand of a different niche that you're also interested in, and then go ahead and do that. Because who's to say that Don't Die in the Woods is his only brand? Now, what was really fun about it is all the way in the beginning when I showed you that this guy, he doesn't even want you to buy it off of the website. He wants you to buy it off of Amazon. And why? Okay, so basically the idea is this, okay? When you sell things, whether it's on eBay or Amazon, success begets more success. Sales gets more sales. Conversion gets you more conversion. That's generally how it works until you finally plateau. So what is happening here? He doesn't want to lose any of the sales to his own website. He wants you to buy it off of Amazon, because the more people that buy it off Amazon, the better he can maintain his ranking on Amazon. And the better he maintains the ranking on Amazon, the more volume that he can retain on Amazon. So he wants all the sales to remain on Amazon so that he could continue to keep snowballing or maintaining the size of the snowball on Amazon. This is what KPI is. This is what analytics actually looks like when you have real sales history over here to work with. Again, right? I drop names all the time because life is too short to not just say what you mean and who are you talking about, right? So when you got guys like Daily Refinement, Tech and Sports Carry, Kaylee Elaine with their last videos talking about, there's too much analysis paralysis, etc., stuff like that. You know why you have analysis paralysis in reselling? Because you don't have definitive data. End of story, okay? The reason why you have analysis paralysis is because you're trying to extrapolate data based on something that is a single time occurrence, right? They're all isolated incidents. If you're doing one-off items, right, single sales with one and done listings, what is the analytics here? There's just not enough data. If you're trying to compare it to a whole bunch of things that's being sold online, well, that is a collective amount of single isolated incidents between all sorts of sellers, right? It's not together. You're trying to create an aggregate number. And that's why it's so hard to extrapolate. So you're looking for any inkling, any answer that you could get. So that forces you to start looking at finer details. What am I missing here? I'll tell you what you're missing here. Definitive, meaningful data. You need many units over a lot of time to really, and being sold from the same place to know that you are here or there at any time of the day. So when you ask me about my numbers, should I do this? Should I do that? How do I calculate for more? Peg, what is the prices that you set at, et cetera, all these things? I could do that in my business because we have the sourcing corrected. We have support from the manufacturer so that we could have an ongoing evergreen item. So the business flips, right? It becomes clearer to do. It becomes easier to do. The administrative work over here, right? And the money that you are making is through what? It's not through hard work anymore. The hard work is in the beginning. This money is through ownership. If you ever, had that hateful rant, right, about capitalism and how this filthy landlord, his family probably, and then he doesn't work a day in life because he has all these, apartment buildings and all he does is collect from his tenants and he's so mean to that story, right? Right. That's what an asset is. It is dividends through ownership. And if you produce an evergreen item, not only can you continue to eat off of this, this can be passed on to your kids as long as it is generally a pretty evergreen item, right? I'm not saying that certain things, don't completely phase out because of trends, because of better designs and stuff like that. But over time, this thing is going to make you money for a very, very long time. Look, like I said before, this item, right? He hasn't created anything new since July of 2021. So it's been 4 years that he's got these 4 listings going on for him, and month after month after month. Right now, look, for the past 3 months, look at this line, $26.95, no problem. No fluctuations, no sales, no worries about like, oh, do I sell it for this? Do I sell it for that? If you have a business like this, okay, you can go ahead and start to adjust your price, play with your settings so that you can actually feel what is the sweet spot of your volume to profit ratio. You can't do that with one and done listings. You can't do that with one-off sales. So that's where the analysis paralysis comes from. You're trying to optimize a business where you cannot extrapolate meaningful data from. That becomes really hard to work with. So right now, even though I get a lot of arguments and pushback of people saying that like, well, I'm a reseller and how dare you say my reselling business is not a business, right? The reason is because you can't just say because the government taxes you like a business and therefore you're a business over here, okay? If you have a reselling operation and you have just this one item on the side that earns you, I don't know, an extra $1,500 every single month, it's still an extra $1,500 that you would not have gotten if you didn't set something up. And all you need is that short-term pain to develop this product, get the ball rolling. And then once you have that, all you need is maintenance afterwards. And that's what's the most important. That's what the lesson is that I'm trying to explain to people here, okay? So I wanna go ahead and pull up a little graphic, right? So again, we're not polishing up this video. I just want you guys to hear this off of the top of my head so that I know this stuff back and forth. It's real, okay? eBay versus Amazon, okay? I did my best to research the most realistic numbers out there, okay? There's a lot of different kind of researches where the numbers are going to be a little more. I try to slightly lowball it a little bit to still show you guys, look, even if I lowball the numbers, it is shocking what the numbers are, okay? So a lot of videos out there about eBay and Amazon, how to drop ship from eBay to Amazon, what's it like to shop, to sell on eBay versus Amazon. We're not doing that, okay? We're talking about the true metrics here, right? Active users on eBay is 130 million in the US alone. Active users on Amazon is 230 million. There's only 300 million Americans in the United States. So you could see that the membership over here, right, is only a 100 million difference, okay? So it's not that big. But when you talk about the sales, eBay does 35 billion, while Amazon does 360 billion, which is more than 10 times the amount of sales in the gross merchandise volume. So what does that mean? It means that generally, blanket statement versus blanket statement, eBay is a bunch of window shoppers and Amazon is where the buyers actually are because the ecosystem is set up differently. Of course, there's going to be some people who are going to make the small argument of like, yeah, but some items are eBay items and eBay custom. Yeah, but that's for like the collectibles and the antiques and stuff like that. We're not talking about that because that's not mainstream sales. Okay, we're talking about mainstream sales here between stuff like jeans all the way to, you know, camping gear, right? Like all of these major categories. So when you're talking about those kind of sales, Amazon, the ecosystem, whether it's because of the shopping, because of the Prime, because of all the reasons you guys already know in the back of your mind, especially if you guys are also Amazon shoppers yourself, that all the money is being spent on Amazon. So what is my point here? My point is that if you are already successful at e-commerce on eBay, what is your potential on Amazon? But what's holding you back is a lot of naysaying, right? Of like, yeah, but you know, there's a lot of risk in this. And what do I even develop? I don't know what product to do. Well, number one, okay, the whole idea of having your own business is to set up that lemonade stand, right? But how complicated was this item, honestly? So you couldn't come up with some kind of everyday item that people might want, some kind of commodity type item that people might want. Lemonade at the end of the day is just water, ice, lemon, and sugar, right? What is this at the end of the day? It is a Mylar, you know, heat shield blanket sewn in different ways with a little pouch and sometimes a carabiner on. It's like, it's really not that much more complicated, right? And that's my point. My car seat covers, it's not a new idea, right? All I did was rework the design a little bit. So some people, they like my design. Some people, they like somebody else's design. If they don't like my design, I'm never going to have them as a customer. If they like my design, then they're definitely going to be my customer. It's just that simple. But the point is to put it on the major marketplace where all the sales actually are. And this is what my channel is about. This is what I advocate for. This is what I try to empower people to do, as well as teach them how to do it. So the last biggest concern, right, is the risk factor, right? You're going to lose your shirt doing this thing. Okay, let's talk about that for a little bit, right? So I have something in my framework called the 4 lenses of scrutiny, okay? And the reason why I do this, okay, is because this is a proper framework, again, to fight analysis paralysis, okay? This is going to show you exactly how much research that you need to do and when to stop and when to move forward, right? So in order to deep dive any niche, to develop any product, we need to apply the 4 lenses of scrutiny. And the 4 lenses of scrutiny is this, right? The seller's lens, the buyer's lens, the reviewer's lens, and the scholar's lens. So the seller's lens is to basically check out who all your future competitors are going to be. How are they selling this stuff? What prices are they selling for? Really start to build a short list of competitors that you plan to copy and take a page off of their books, as well as understand what their listings are, what their photos look like, what they're trying to do in this field. Like really study as best as you can. Whatever you could extrapolate from just looking at their listings, do your best with that first, okay? And then we go over to the buyer's lens. The buyer's lens is all about reading those feedbacks, right? Whether it's on Reddit, whether it's some review somewhere, whether it's comments in the YouTube videos, whether it's the reviews on eBay or Amazon. See what the buyers are crying about and try to filter out like what are the objective, what are the what kind of criticism was fair, right? Fair criticism versus who the whiners are. Like we don't need that. And then there's the reviewer's lens. The reviewer's lens is a whole bunch of people who are jaded. They get sent free stuff all the time. Okay, so if the reviewers are raving about it, you could best bet that this thing has a lot of pros that you should be considering for your version of the same product, right? As well as to listen to what the reviewers wish it had, because they come from a place of excellence, right? They come a place from deeper understanding. And then finally, the scholar's lens, right? Hopefully you have some of the scholar's lens before you applied which niche that you want to do, because that's playing to your strengths. But if you don't, and you just have a deep passion for it, right? I just really like cameras. I just really like video games. I just really like camping equipment. Then you could always learn more about it. You could always spend more time on YouTube. You could always get books on it. You could always get deeper into that stuff. But the scholar's lens is for you to have some true fundamental background knowledge to really understand the mechanics of your products, right? So right now, you tell me, right? The 4 lenses of scrutiny, what lens did I not cover? If I cover any more lenses, they would be redundant. If I don't cover all 4 of these lenses, then I didn't do enough homework. That's what this framework is. Seriously, take a moment to look at this and reason it to yourself, and you'll see what I mean. This is exactly how much research that you need to do in all 4 stages, and then to go through it forwards and backwards, and you are golden. You're going to tell me that you're going to sink money into a product idea where you applied the 4 lenses of scrutiny and it's going to fail? Highly unlikely. Maybe it's not going to be a home run, but it would still be a decent base hit. And what does a decent base hit looks like? It looks like this. It looks like a 374 sold. It's not crazy, but it definitely warrants a reorder. And that's where I want you guys to be. Okay. So in the beginning right now, if you are on eBay and you're doing it the hard way, right? I am going out to thrift stores, picking up a few items, and I'm still able to make a living. Imagine the potential that you have had you spent more time on this, okay? When you think about what I'm saying between ownership and what doing reselling is, I would argue that the reselling portion, that operation, is the hustle. And even having just one item on FBA would be what? That's the real business. That's the real ongoing business. That's the real equity. Because after you have everything set and it's in motion, all you do is just pick up the phone call and then reorder. So you own the account. You own the listing. You own the intellectual property. You own the branding. You own this channel of the ability to earn, okay? And really, in life, okay, you could have wealth, you could have money, but what's more important is constantly having the ability to earn. In life, everything is trying to rob you of money, right? When you think about, going to the ATM, there's always somebody trying to mug somebody at the ATM, right? If you leave your house on a vacation, there's somebody trying to squat your home or trying to, steal the title of your house in some kind of fraudulent way, right? The government is always trying to nail you on some kind of like tax or compliance of something. Okay, the medical industry, right? God forbid you're sick or somebody else is sick, right? You get hit with a huge medical bill. Like everything is life is trying to rob you of your wealth, right? So how do you earn? If you're earning based on labor, how much labor you got in you, right? Versus here where we have assets through ownership and we are earning on dividends, right? Based on this. So even if your take home was only 10%, even if your take home was only 8%, it's still worth your time to go ahead and do this. Because what do? You pick up a phone call, you replenish the item, and then you just maintain the administrative work. So If you are into your 50s, your 60s, you got that arthritis going on, your 70s, your 80s, and you built up 4 or 5 of these items, right? You're going to be in an okay place. Like no matter what happens, because constantly retaining the ability to earn is the ability to recover. So if you get scammed, if you get, robbed, if you get, a home invasion, like anything could happen, right? That there's a fire, there's a medical emergency, anything that happens in your life, you can recover because you have this as your asset, right? We don't come from rich mommies and daddies so that we could just go ahead and buy Apple and Tesla stock, right? We're going to have to develop our own. And this is exactly what I do on my channel. This is what I advocate for. And this is why I'm so skeptical of other people who are gurus that try to, teach you how to do business in a way that's just based on elbow grease and it's just going to be ongoing forever, right? This allows you to build multiple streams of income. When you think of exactly what he has over here, this is multiple streams of income through his Amazon store, because this is one stream of income every single month at $8,000 of revenue, right? And this is at 10,000, and this is at another 6,000, and this is another 14,000. You'll notice that on my channel, I'll specifically tell you it was revenue or it was take home. We're going to be very clear about that. There's no BS here going on, right? So when you look at what's happening here, okay, I want you guys to go ahead and download the Jungle Scout app, because if you are an average shopper on Amazon anyways, right? I'd like you to spend some time that, like, whatever you're shopping for, whatever you're buying, also take a gander right here, right? Let the Jungle Scout extension load, and then you see what his monthly revenue is, what his monthly units sold is, and then think about your business, right? And then when you're ready, come see me. So the case study we just looked at, Don't Die in the Woods, is a very simple concept. Heat reflecting Mylar sheets sold in different forms. A blanket, a sleeping bag, a basic tent you could string up with some paracord. There's really nothing fancy here. But think about this. Had a friend or family member approached you with this idea from the start, would you have doubted its very potential? Very hard to see the appeal for most people, I get it. And yet here we are today looking at his $40,000 a month result in sales with no new product updates in years. So the main takeaway is you don't need a breakthrough creation. Even a simple idea with the proper guidance could turn into a serious long-term stream of income. If you're currently a reseller, then you're already in the game of e-commerce. And if you ever sold even a small bulk quantity of anything, then you've already tasted a slice of heaven when you wake up to multiple sales from the same listing. It feels right because it is right. More efficient, much more scalable, and more like a real business. And that's what I want for you. Anyways, guys, that is the video. If you enjoyed that, please give it a big like. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. As always, see you guys in the next. Take care.